I thought I knew him. I thought I knew us. But the night I slipped my hand into the pocket of his coat, I pulled out a truth that cut sharper than glass. A hotel receipt for a place I'd never been, dated on a weekend he swore he was on a business trip. The strangest part? I didn't scream. I didn't even gasp. I just stood there in the hallway, the coat still dangling from my fingers, and let the world tilt off its axis. I remember thinking, absurdly, that the paper was warm as though it had soaked in the last traces of his body heat, and now it was burning me alive. You'd think I'd crumble right then, but I didn't. I laughed, a hollow, broken laugh that ricocheted against the walls of our living room like a ghost no one had invited. Because the man I trusted with my heart, my life, my mornings and nights, had apparently been spending his weekends in a hotel bed I didn't know. And the receipt wasn't just proof of betrayal. It was signed. His name, bold and clean, like he hadn't even tried to hide it. We'd been married 6 years. He was my anchor, my best friend, the one who kissed my forehead when I was tired and whispered home against my skin when he came back from trips. I thought business travel was just part of our life. I thought sacrifices were what love demanded. That night, standing alone with that crumpled piece of paper in my hand, I realized I'd been living inside a story he'd been editing without me. I slid down against the wall, knees pulled to my chest, receipt trembling in my grip. My breathing was shallow, erratic. Every corner of the room seemed sharper, colder. The lamp hummed. The silence pressed against my ears, and I kept asking myself, why? Who? How long? When he walked through the door, everything in me went still. He looked the same as he always did, hair a little messy, smile warm, his voice soft when he said, "Hey, sweetheart." It was cruel, how ordinary he appeared, like nothing in the world had shifted. I tucked the receipt behind me, my pulse racing. He bent down, kissed me, and I let him. I let him. My lips froze under his because I wasn't ready. Not yet. I wanted to see. I wanted to know. "Trip go okay?" I asked, my voice steady in a way that startled me. He smiled, tired but content, and sank onto the couch like a man who had nothing to hide. "Yeah, just long meetings. You know how it is." Do I? I thought. Do I know how it is? I sat beside him, close enough to smell his cologne. Familiar, grounding, but suddenly tainted. My fingers ached with the weight of the receipt tucked against my palm. Every second felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the ground to give way. "Did you eat?" he asked gently, brushing his thumb across my knee. My body betrayed me. I shivered at his touch. The same touch that once meant safety now felt like a question mark pressed into my skin. My throat tightened. This is the part that haunts me the most. Not his lies, not the hotel, not even the image of him with someone else. It's how calm I was while my world collapsed. How I leaned my head against his shoulder, breathed him in, and pretended for a few more stolen moments that everything was still ours, but my mind was no longer his. It was already racing ahead, imagining confrontations, imagining tears, imagining truths that would shatter us both. I could almost see the walls of the hotel room, smell the perfume on sheets I'd never touched. And yet, part of me clung to him, because beneath the betrayal, beneath the fire of suspicion and the ice of fear, there was still love. A fragile, desperate love, begging me to find an explanation, any explanation, that wouldn't destroy what we'd built. I closed my eyes, receipt still burning in my hand, and whispered inside myself, "Tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll ask. Tonight, I'll hold on." But tomorrow came sooner than I thought. Because as he leaned forward to take off his shoes, the receipt slipped from my fingers and floated, slow, damning, onto the carpet between us. He froze. So did I. The air thickened, heavy, electric. His eyes dropped. He saw it. He knew. And when he finally looked up at me, his smile was gone. His voice was low, almost inaudible. "Where did you find that?" And that was the moment. Right there. When the life we had, the receipt lay between us like a blade, small and silent but sharp enough to cut through the air. My chest rose and fell in shallow waves, and for a moment, all I could hear was the soft tick of the clock on the wall. "Where did you find that?" he asked again, slower this time, like he was tasting the weight of each word. I didn't answer. My fingers curled into fists against my thighs. Because what could I say? That I'd stumbled across the truth by accident? That his lies had slipped out of his coat pocket as easily as they'd slipped off his tongue? His jaw tightened. His eyes didn't leave mine, but I saw the flicker there. Guilt, recognition, calculation. He leaned back against the couch. Hands pressed together like a man ready to confess or to lie again. I couldn't tell which. "Is it what it looks like?" My voice cracked on the question, soft and trembling, but it felt like fire leaving my throat. He exhaled, long and weary. "It's not that simple. Not that simple." The words felt obscene. My whole body stiffened, rage and sorrow colliding in my chest. "You checked into a hotel under your own name on the weekend you told me you were working in another city. Tell me how that's complicated." His hand reached for mine, but I pulled back. His touch, once my anchor, now felt like a storm I couldn't survive. "I didn't want you to find out this way," he whispered. The audacity of it made me laugh, low, bitter, and sharp. "This way? Like there's a good way to discover my husband's been living a life I don't know about." He closed his eyes, shoulders heavy. "I can explain." I wanted to scream at him, to tell him that explanations didn't matter, that the receipt itself was already the answer I dreaded. But some traitorous part of me still wanted to hear it, wanted to believe that love wasn't so fragile it could be erased by one slip of paper, so I said nothing. I let the silence stretch, suffocating until finally he spoke. It started a few months ago. The trips, the hotels. But it wasn't what you think. His words hung in the air, thick with meaning he refused to name. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Then tell me what it was," I whispered, though my voice trembled with the weight of not wanting to know. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His hesitation was worse than any confession, because hesitation meant truth. And truth meant everything we were, everything I believed in, was already unraveling. I rose to my feet, pacing the length of the living room. My hands brushed over the edges of the furniture, grounding me in the physical world, because my mind was already spinning elsewhere, into hotel rooms with closed curtains, sheets tangled in ways I couldn't bear to picture. "Look at me," I demanded, turning to face him, "and tell me who she is." He flinched. Just slightly, but enough. My breath caught, sharp and jagged. "There's no—" He stopped himself, realizing denial would only deepen the wound. He dragged a hand down his face, exhausted, broken. I didn't mean for it to happen, and there it was, the knife I'd been waiting for. Not slammed into me all at once, but pressed slow and deliberate against my skin, inch by inch. The world seemed to narrow until it was only him and me. Two people standing on opposite shores of a river neither of us could cross anymore. I could see the way his chest heaved, the fear in his eyes, the shame carved into the lines of his face. And God help me even then, even standing in the ruins of us. I loved him. Tears blurred my vision. My throat ached. Why? The word slipped out small, fragile, carrying every broken piece of me inside it. His voice cracked when he answered. Because I was lonely. The room spun. My knees almost buckled. Lonely. He'd had me, every part of me. My laughter, my body, my trust, my soul. And somehow he'd still been lonely. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to kiss him. I wanted to both end us and cling to us forever. The contradictions clawed at my insides until I could hardly breathe. I don't know if I can forgive this, I whispered, more to myself than to him. He stood slowly, carefully, like approaching me too quickly might shatter me for good. Please, let me explain. Let me try. Don't walk away, not yet. I stared at him, my heart pounding, my body trembling. Part of me screamed to run, to slam the door, to never look back. But another part, softer, weaker, stubbornly human, ached to stay, to understand, to fight for what little might be left of us. The silence between us was unbearable, thick with everything unspoken. And then, in a moment I still can't fully explain, I stepped toward him. Just one step. Close enough to feel the heat of his body. Close enough to remember what it once felt like to belong to him completely. His breath hitched. My chest pressed tight. This wasn't forgiveness. This wasn't surrender. It was something rawer, darker, tangled in anger and love, betrayal and need. When his hand lifted, hovering inches from my face, I didn't move. I let the moment stretch, sharp and dangerous, as his eyes searched mine. And then, his fingers brushed my cheek, feather-light, trembling, a touch that both soothed and burned, and in that unbearable closeness, with the receipt still lying on the floor between us, I realized this wasn't the end. Not yet. His fingers lingered on my cheek, warm and trembling, and for a moment I hated myself for not pulling away. My body betrayed me. It leaned into his touch even while my mind screamed against it. We stood there motionless, as if the smallest movement might collapse the fragile thread still holding us together. His breath brushed my skin. His eyes searched mine with a desperation that was both infuriating and devastating. I never wanted to hurt you, he whispered, voice raw. I almost laughed, the sound bitter and sharp. Then why did you? His hand faltered, but didn't fall. His gaze flicked away, then back again as though he was fighting himself. Because I was weak. Because I wanted something I didn't know how to ask you for. Because... He broke off, choking on words that seemed too heavy to carry. Turned, stepping away, trying to put air between us. My chest heaved with every breath. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? What you've done to us? He pressed a hand to the back of his neck, shoulders sagging. I do. And I hate myself for it. I wanted to scream at him, to let my fury pour out until it burned everything in its path. But beneath the anger, beneath the grief, was a quieter ache. A question I didn't want to ask but couldn't stop from spilling out. Do you love her? The silence that followed was unbearable. Seconds stretched into eternities. No, he said finally, voice low but steady. I don't love her. I never did. I closed my eyes, relief and devastation colliding like a storm inside me. Because if he didn't love her, then what did that make me? A convenience? A fallback? The wife he returned to after someone else's arms no longer held him? Then what was she? My voice cracked, sharp with pain. A distraction? A toy? Something to make you feel alive while I was here waiting for you? He flinched, and for once, didn't try to defend himself. His silence was answer enough. Tears slid down my cheeks before I realized they'd escaped. I swiped them away angrily, furious at myself for showing him my brokenness, but then his voice, soft and trembling, cut through the quiet. She wasn't you. That's all I know. And every time I left her, I thought of you. Every time I touched her, I hated myself because she wasn't you. His words split me open. They were cruel in their honesty. yet tender in the way they reached for me even as they revealed the depth of his betrayal. "Stop," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Don't say that. Don't make this worse." He stepped toward me, hesitated, then closed the gap. "I need you to understand, I never stopped loving you, not once." I turned to face him, tears blurring my vision, my chest heaving with ragged breaths, and for the first time I let him see me, truly see me. The hurt, the anger, the fear, but also the part of me that still, against all logic, longed for him. "I don't know if I can ever believe you again," I said, my voice breaking. "I'll spend the rest of my life proving it if I have to." His voice shook, but his eyes were fierce, almost pleading. "Just don't give up on me, not yet." The silence that followed was heavy, but not empty. It vibrated with the weight of everything unsaid. And then, before I could think better of it, I whispered the words that had been clawing at my throat since I found the receipt. "I'm scared." His face crumpled, raw and unguarded. He reached for me again, slower this time, giving me every chance to turn away. But I didn't. His arms closed around me, tentative, trembling, as if he knew this embrace was both a confession and a prayer. My forehead pressed against his chest, and I hated how familiar it felt. How right. The steady thud of his heartbeat beneath my ear was the same rhythm I'd fallen asleep to for years. And for a single stolen moment, I let myself sink into it. Let myself remember what it felt like to be his without question. But this wasn't the same. Not anymore. The embrace was different now. Sharper, heavier, burdened with secrets and confessions that clung to the air between us. When I finally pulled back, his hands lingered at my waist, reluctant to let go. His eyes met mine, glistening with a vulnerability I'd never seen in him before. "I don't deserve you," he said hoarsely, "but I swear I'll fight for you. For us. If you let me." My breath caught. His words were a knife and a balm all at once. And God help me, my heart still wanted to believe him. But belief was no longer simple. Trust was no longer automatic. It would never be again. I reached up almost against my will and let my fingers brush his jaw. The touch was trembling, tentative, but real. His eyes closed at the contact, a shudder running through him as though my hand was the only mercy left. In his world, it was the first true confession between us, not spoken but felt. A confession of need, of fear, of the fractured love that still tethered us together even in the wreckage. And then, like the cruel hand of fate, the shrill buzz of his phone shattered the moment. The screen lit up on the coffee table. A name flashed across it, not mine. The world tilted again, and everything I thought we'd begun to rebuild threatened to collapse. Her name lit up his phone screen like a gunshot in the quiet room. Small, ordinary, but in that moment, it detonated inside me. I stared at it, my breath caught in my throat, while his body went rigid beside me. He lunged forward, snatching the phone from the table as if by hiding it he could erase what I had already seen. Too late. "Give it to me." My voice was low, trembling, but edged with steel. He shook his head. "It's not." "Give it to me," I snapped, louder this time, my fury boiling over, my hand outstretched like a command. For a heartbeat, we stood frozen, locked in a standoff that felt like it might decide the rest of our lives. His chest heaved, his jaw clenched. Then slowly, reluctantly, he placed the phone in my palm. The screen still glowed. One message waiting to be opened. I didn't want to. God, every part of me screamed not to. But my thumb moved anyway, driven by some primal need for the truth, no matter how much it burned. The words appeared. "I miss you already. When can I see you again?" It was simple, innocent even, compared to the images my mind had conjured, but those few words carved into me like blades, because they weren't from a stranger. They were from her, the woman he'd chosen instead of me. My chest caved, my knees buckled, I dropped the phone onto the couch like it was on fire. How long? My voice cracked. He ran a hand down his face, broken, exhausted. A few months? Months, I repeated, the word a poison on my tongue. So while I was here waiting, loving you, you were… What? Splitting your weekends between boardrooms and her? His silence was answer enough. I pressed both hands to my temples, trying to hold my head together as the room spun. Do you even hear yourself? Do you realize what you've done? I do. His voice was hoarse, desperate, and I hate myself every second of every day for it. Not enough to stop. My laugh was bitter, hollow. Not enough to choose me. He stepped toward me and I stumbled back, colliding with the wall. He froze, his eyes searching mine, his hands trembling at his sides. I did choose you. Every time. Even when I was with her, I knew I belonged to you. I was just too cowardly to admit how empty I'd become. My breath hitched, sharp and jagged. Empty? You had me. I know. His voice cracked. And that's what makes me the biggest fool alive. The dam inside me broke. My fists pounded against his chest, small and furious. You ruined us. You ruined everything. Each word was a wound, spilling out years of love now twisted into grief. He didn't stop me. He stood there and let me hit him, his chest rising and falling beneath my hands, tears streaming down his face unchecked. And when my strength finally gave out, when I collapsed against him, sobbing into the fabric of his shirt, his arms came around me, like a man clinging to the last thing he would ever love. I'm sorry, he whispered over and over, the words muffled against my hair. I'm so sorry. I wanted to shove him away, to scream that apologies meant nothing when the betrayal still seared fresh in my veins. But my body betrayed me again. I clung to him, my fingers fisting in his shirt, because for all the damage, for all the wreckage, this was still the man I loved. The contradiction nearly destroyed me. His forehead pressed against mine, our tears mingling, breaths tangled. Tell me what to do, he begged, voice shaking. Tell me how to fix this and I'll do it, anything, just don't let this be the end. My lips trembled, my chest ached. I hated him. I loved him. I needed him. I feared him. I don't know if I can, I whispered, my voice breaking. His hands cradled my face, desperate, reverent, trembling. Then let me show you. Please. Let me prove that I can be the man you thought I was. The room was spinning with grief and longing, fury and tenderness, a storm I couldn't escape. My body shook with sobs, but when his lips hovered near mine, hesitant, pleading, I didn't turn away. The kiss was broken, fractured, nothing like the ones we used to share. It was wet with tears, raw with pain, desperate with the need to bridge a chasm too wide to cross. But it was real. It was ours. And in that searing, trembling closeness, I felt the truth. We were either going to shatter completely or rise from these ruins together. The breaking point wasn't just here. It was now. The kiss lingered, fragile and trembling, until I finally broke away, gasping for air that felt too heavy to breathe. My forehead rested against his, both of us shaking, clinging to a moment that felt more like drowning than saving. I pulled back, searching his eyes. They were raw, rimmed with red, shimmering with something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. Not fear of me leaving. Fear of me knowing him now, completely stripped of every pretense. I don't know how to live with this, I whispered. His hand slid down my arms, steadying me even as his own fingers trembled. Then let me carry it with you. Don't shut me out. Don't let this be the last page of us. I swallowed hard, the words burning on my tongue. You broke us, and I'll rebuild us. His voice cracked, but there was steel beneath it, brick by brick. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I can. The audacity of hope in his tone nearly undid me. My heart thrashed wildly, torn between fury and love, between the desire to slam the door on him forever and the longing to believe we weren't finished. "You don't just get to erase what you did," I said, tears sliding hot down my cheeks. "Every time I close my eyes, I see it. I feel it." "I know," he breathed, "and I'll live with that. I'll live. With your anger, your silence, your doubts, whatever you need to give me. Just don't walk away. Not yet." The silence stretched between us, sharp and suffocating. His words were a plea, but also a chain. I hated how much I wanted to believe them, how much I wanted to let him tether me to the idea of us again. Finally, I shook my head. "This isn't something you can fix overnight. You can't kiss me and expect it to be okay." "I don't expect it to be okay," he said firmly. "I just don't want to lose the chance to make it right." Something in me broke then, not cleanly but like glass splintering into 1,000 pieces. I sank back onto the couch exhausted, every part of me aching. He sat beside me, not too close, as if waiting for permission to breathe the same air. For the first time I looked at him. Not the man who betrayed me, not the liar, not the stranger, but the man I fell in love with. The man who once held my heart so carefully, who made me laugh until I cried, who built a life with me one ordinary day at a time. And it killed me that both men lived inside him now. "I hate you," I whispered, my voice trembling. "And I love you. And I don't know how to survive both at once." His eyes closed, his breath shuddering. "Then let me hold you through it." I should have pushed him away. I should have stood up and left, slammed the door behind me and carved out a new life from the ashes he left. But when he reached for me, slow and careful, I let him. His arms wrapped around me and I sank into the familiarity, my tears soaking into his shirt. His hand stroked my hair, gentle, reverent, as if he knew this embrace was both punishment and mercy. For the first time since the receipt slipped from my hand, I allowed myself to exhale. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't healing. It was something smaller, something messier. A truce, maybe. A fragile pause in the war raging between us. He kissed the crown of my head, his lips lingering. "I'll wait as long as it takes. I'll fight as hard as I have to just let me." And in that moment I realized something. Betrayal doesn't end love. It twists it, warps it, shatters it, but the pieces still cut because they matter, because they still belong to you. We stayed there in silence, clinging to each other like survivors in the wreckage of a storm, both knowing the hardest part was still ahead. Trust would have to be rebuilt. Wounds would bleed again before they scarred. Some nights would be unbearable. Some mornings would feel hollow. But for tonight, there was this. His arms around me, my tears against his chest, the faint echo of what we once were, refusing to die completely. Maybe tomorrow I would leave. Maybe tomorrow I would demand answers he couldn't give. Maybe tomorrow we would face the jagged edges of rebuilding. But tonight, in the quiet of our broken living room, I let myself believe in the possibility of us. Not because he deserved it, but because I wasn't ready to stop loving him. And that was the most devastating confession